welcome back to The Foundry by Forge College. I'm so glad you're joining us for this explainer. Now, if you were with us for the last lesson, you know we spent a lot of time on patterns for synchronized data handling, making sure everything aligns deterministically. But today we are shifting gears completely. We're diving headfirst into measuring network performance. Because let's be real, absolutely nobody likes flying blind when the network suddenly starts crawling, right? So we are focusing on speed, capacity, and figuring out exactly what's going on inside those pipes. Let's get into it.
Here is our roadmap for today. First, welcome to the highway. Then, the turbine traffic metaphor, followed by measuring core network metrics. After that, setting up the radar, running a traffic simulation, and finally, preparing for the road. All right, Section 1, welcome to the highway. Let's pop open that diagnostic toolkit of yours. So earlier, we saw how data reconciliation cuts down on all that redundant chatter. But to actually see how that changes the physical network, we've got to separate two totally different beasts here: latency and throughput. Latency is literally just the exact time a single individual packet takes to get from point A to point B. Throughput, on the other hand, is your sustained capacity. Think about it like this. You could have a massive, beautiful 10-lane highway that handles thousands of cars an hour, which is amazing throughput. But if there's a strict 10-mile-per-hour speed limit, well, the latency for your specific car is still going to be agonizingly slow. You really have to measure both to get the whole picture. Moving on to Section 2, the turbine traffic metaphor, it's time to build ourselves a high-speed highway.
Okay, let's be honest, networking theory can be pretty dry. So we're going to visualize Solana's Turbine protocol as this highly specialized ultra-fast highway system built right over top of a standard congested city street grid. In this blueprint, the packets, those tiny message fragments zooming across the network, those are our vehicles. The logical fan-out routes they travel on, those are dedicated express lanes. And the validators doing all that heavy lifting of signature verification, just imagine them as really strict, unforgiving customs agents at a toll plaza. Finally, we have congestion. That is simply the queuing delay building up at your network interface card. Keeping this mental model is absolutely crucial for instantly spotting where your bottlenecks are forming.
Now, this highway relies on two massive game changers to stay fast: chunking and fanout. Chunking is, well, exactly what it sounds like. It's taking these massive, slow-moving 18-wheeler freight trucks and splitting their cargo up into nimble little delivery vans so they can use way more lanes all at once. And fanout? That provides branching off-ramps so multiple copies of these vans can arrive at different destinations at the exact same time. It's a really elegant solution. But there's an obvious catch here. You are suddenly putting way more vehicles on the road. And if you aren't careful, that can lead to entirely new, super frustrating traffic jams. Which brings us to Section 3, measuring core network metrics. Time to set up our radar guns. To get an accurate read on the traffic flow on this new highway, we're tracking 5 usual suspects. First, end-to-end latency, which is the total trip time. Second, component latency, so we're breaking down things like serialization delays, toll booth processing, and traffic queues. Third is total throughput. Fourth is resource utilization, meaning are we physically melting our CPU or our network card? And fifth is variability. Now, out of all of these, variability is the one that trips people up the most. Let me show you why. Welcome to P99. This metric is a harsh reminder of a really important truth. Averages will absolutely lie to you in distributed systems. We obsess over percentiles like the P99 tail latency for very good reason. Think about it. Nobody cares if the average commute is lightning fast, if you are the unlucky person stuck behind a broken down truck in that rare 1% of cases, right? If your median time is great, but your P99 is terrible, that means 1 out of every 100 transactions is essentially hitting a brick wall. And in a high-performance system, that's just unacceptable.
Next up, Section 4, setting up the radar. Let's talk about exactly where to place our probes.
Okay, so we have to place our measurement probes without actually disrupting the flow of traffic. Because if you pull a car over just to ask how fast it was going, well, you've completely ruined your own data. So we measure at the leader to catch NQ time, essentially tracking how long it takes to serialize and dispatch the vehicles. Then we measure at the network layer to track the link rate and look out for any lost vans. We measure at the validator to check the reassembly and processing costs at the toll booth. And finally, we monitor the system host to make sure our hardware isn't physically melting down under the load.
All right, Section 5, running a traffic simulation. Let's really put Turbine to the test. You wouldn't just open up a massive new highway without running a pilot program first, right? So we set up a testbed of 10 validators. We're going to pit a baseline configuration right up against a shiny new Turbine setup. Our baseline is just standard TCP.
Think of this as your bulky, congested city streets with those massive freight trucks and absolutely no chunking. The turbine configuration, on the other hand, emits tiny 1 kilobyte chunks with a fan-out to 6 piers. Let's see what these nimble little vans can do against the heavy trucks.
Here's the playbook for our experiment, and we're pushing 5,000 transactions per second here. Step 1 is a 1-minute ramp-up phase just to clear out any startup artifacts or cold caches. Step 2 is our baseline standard TCP run. Step 3 is the turbine run with a fan-out of 6. And finally, Step 4 is a sensitivity test, where we drop the fan-out down to 3, just to see if having fewer vans on the road clears things up. Let's take a look at the radar data.
Wow, look at the story this data is telling us. The first metric shows that turbine drops our median P50 latency drastically. We're talking from 160 milliseconds down to just 70. And the P95 drops beautifully too, going from 350 down to 120 milliseconds. That is a huge win. But look at that third metric, the P99 tail. That stubborn tail latency is stuck right near 700 milliseconds for both configurations. No change at all. This right here is the exact trap so many engineers fall into when they only ever look at averages.
And that brings us to Section 6, preparing for the road. So what does this data actually mean for us? Well, it gives us this absolute golden rule. Median improvements do not guarantee tail improvements. Yes, turbines' parallel lanes brilliantly accelerate all your common, everyday traffic, but rare network drops, missed interrupts, or sudden CPU spikes, those will still cause absolute gridlock for a few unlucky vans. Fixing the average commute does not magically clear out the rare, catastrophic crashes in the tail. You still have to go out and hunt those down, using the specific host and network level probes we set up earlier.
So I'm going to leave you with this thought. What is your concrete hypothesis for the next turbine configuration? How will tweaking the chunk size or the fan-out affect your specific metrics? If you drop that fan-out, will that stubborn P99 finally budge? I want you to head over to forge.college to test out your hypotheses, explore our other advanced courses, and keep building your Web3 journey. Thanks so much for joining me for this explainer from Forge College, and I'll see you out on the highway.